A Culture Museum Guide. Chapter 1. Museums of Various Cultures. Cultural Museum websites at dmoz-odp.org/reference/museum/cultural. Subcategories: Biographical, Ethnic, Masonic, Occupational, Religious, Gay, Lesbian, and Bisexual. Related categories: News, Museums and Archives, Science, Social Sciences, Anthropology, Cultural Anthropology, Society History by topic, Cultural History. British Schools Museum.co.uk. The British Schools Museum buildings tell the story of elementary education in Britain from 1810 until 1945. Includes classroom exhibits, a visitor's guide, directions, and a map. Located in Hitchin, Hertfordshire. caithness.org/history/Wick Heritage Centre/New Wick Heritage, Wick Heritage Centre. Collection features artifacts, memorabilia, and over 60,000 photographs that interpret community life. Includes details of buildings and exhibits, hours, admission, and directions. Based in Caithness in northern Scotland. CatalinaMuseum.org, Catalina Island Museum, founded in 1953 to collect, preserve, and interpret the cultural heritage of the area. Includes details of exhibits, events, hours, and admission. Located in Avalon, California, United States. Culinary.org, Culinary Archives and Museum, devoted to the preservation of culinary arts and hospitality history. Features cast iron ranges and stoves, American foods, menus, cookbooks. Located in Johnson and Wales University, Providence, Rhode Island. DunblaineMuseum.org.uk, Dunblane Museum, established in 1943 in a building dating from 1624 and features many exhibits concerned with the ecclesiastical history of the area. Includes a visitor's guide, photos, and a research facility. Located in Perthshire, Scotland. Fowler.ucla.edu, Fowler Museum at UCLA. Collections comprise more than 150,000 ethnographic and 600,000 archaeological objects representing prehistoric, historic, and contemporary cultures of Africa, Asia, Oceania, and the Americas, past and present. Includes hours and free admission. Located in Los Angeles, California. GlenFolkVillage.com, Father McDyer's Folk Village, features a cluster of 6 small cottages that recreate a different era of Irish history, from the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries. Includes details of the furnishings, a craft shop and tea room, and directions to the location in Glencombe, County Donegal, Ireland. Horniman.ac.uk, Horniman Museum, features 3 main collections, world cultures, natural history, and music. Includes details of displays, opening times, facilities and directions. Located in London, UK. Indiana.edu/Mathers, Museum of World Cultures, Collections, Exhibits, Events, Programs, and Store. Located in Bloomington, Indiana. Indianamuseum.org, Indiana State Museum, explore exhibits of art, science, and culture. Includes details of the galleries, an events calendar, programs, information about the Legacy Theatre, memberships, and a visitor's guide. Located in Indianapolis, Indiana, United States. LymanMuseum.org, Lyman Museum, exhibits the cultural and natural history of Hawaii. Located in Hilo. MarblesKidsMuseum.org, Marbles Kids Museum, interactive museum. Features calendar of events, information on exhibits and staff. MuseumofNorthernBC.com, Museum of Northern British Columbia, features displays of Northwest Coast human and natural history from the end of the last ice age to the 20th century. Includes details of exhibits, programs, fees, hours, memberships, and directions. Located in Prince Rupert, British Columbia, Canada. MuseumofSex.com, Museum of Sex, dedicated to the exploration of the history, evolution, and cultural significance of human sexuality, advocating open discourse and striving to present to the public the best in current scholarship unhindered by self-censorship. Located in New York, New York. nmfh.org, National Museum of Funeral History, a museum of 19th and 20th century funerary history in the United States. Online collections and membership information, and gift shop. Located in Houston, Texas. Reading.ac.uk/themerl, the Museum of English Rural Life, reflects and records the changing face of farming and the countryside through collections of objects, archives, photographs, film, and books. Includes details and a map to the location in Reading, UK. ReadingPublicMuseum.org, Reading Public Museum, offers collections of art, science, and civilization, and a planetarium. Contains details of the collections, events, memberships, volunteer opportunities, hours, admission rates, and directions to the location in Reading, Pennsylvania, United States. RedCrossMuseum.ch, International Red Cross and Red Crescent Museum, exhibits feature history of organization from its beginning to present times. Includes opening hours, admission fees, directions. Located in Geneva, Switzerland. French, German, and English. shetland-museum.org.uk. Shetland Museum contains culture, archaeology, maritime, and textile displays. Includes details of exhibits, projects, photographic archive, and newsletter. Located in the UK. southernfood.org, Southern Food and Beverage Museum. ucmmuseum.com, the UCM Museum, features memorabilia, folk art, homemade inventions, a miniature animated town and gift shop. Includes hours, admission, and directions. Located in Abita Springs, Louisiana. WritersMuseum.com, Dublin Writers Museum, features a history and celebration of Irish literary life. African American Museum/Black History Museums. BlackMuseums.org, Association of African American Museums, no list of museums as far as I could see. sil.si.edu/subject-guide/afram-museums.html. ibhm.org. arlottie.org, AACC, the Afro-American Cultural Center. afro.com. bcri.org/index.html, Civil Rights Institute, Birmingham Museum. caam.ca.gov, CAAM, California African American Museum. civilrightsmuseum.org, National Civil Rights Museum. ferris.edu/news/Jim Crow/index.htm, Jim Crow Museum. nypl.org/research/sc/sc.html, Schomburg Center, New York Public Library. Jewish Museum websites. amuseum.org/yaf, Jewish American Hall of Fame. jewishmuseum.com.au/index.htm, Jewish Museum of Australia. jhsm.org, Jewish Museum of Maryland. nmjh.org. nmjh.org/links/links1.htm, Jewish Museum Directory. bh.org.il, Beth Hati Futsith, Museum of the Jewish People, Tel Aviv. thecjm.org, Contemporary Jewish Museum, San Francisco. imj.org.il, Israel Museum, Jerusalem. jewishmuseum.org.uk, Jewish Museum London. thejewishmuseum.org, The Jewish Museum. New York. magnus.org. Berkeley, California. nmjh.org, National Museum of American Jewish History. Philadelphia. skirball.org, Skirball Cultural Center. Los Angeles. museumoftolerance.com, Museum of Tolerance, Los Angeles. usham.org, United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, Washington, D.C. yadvashem.org, Yad Vashem, Jerusalem, Israel. science.co.il/jewish-museums.asp, Global Directory of Jewish Museums. nmjh.org/links/links1.htm, Jewish Museums and Museum Resources. Native Museums/Indian Museums/Indigenous Museums. GoNativeAmerican.org/museums.html. nmi.si.edu, the National Museum of the American Indian, Washington, D.C. abaymuseum.org, Abay Museum, Bar Harbor, Maine. ahtahthickey.com, Ahtahthickey Museum, the Big Cypress Reservation of the Seminoles. autry-museum.org, Autry National Center, Southwest Museum of the American Indian, Los Angeles, California. swmfuture.org, Southwest Collection. CherokeeMuseum.org, Museum of the Cherokee Indian, Cherokee, North Carolina, west of Asheville. itelgeorg.org, Itelgeorg Museum of American Indians and Western Art. Indianapolis, Indiana. FlintRidgeOhio.org, Flint Ridge, Ohio, the Flint Deposit at Flint Ridge. Herd.org, Herd Museum of Native Cultures and Art, Phoenix, Arizona. IAENCAD.org, Institute of American Indian Arts, Santa Fe, New Mexico. IroquoisMuseum.org, Iroquois Indian Museum, Shahari, New York. PequotMuseum.org, Mashantucket Pequot Museum and Research Center, Mashantucket, CT. mnhs.org/places/sites/mlim/index.html, Mille Lacs Indian Museum, Onamia, Minnesota. IAENCAD.org, Montclair Art Museum, Montclair, New Jersey, mainly to fine arts by well-known mainstream artists. The museum also houses a fairly extensive collection of Native American art. IndianMuseum.org, Mount Kearsarge Indian Museum, Warner, NH. Museum at WarmSprings.org, the museum at Warm Springs in Central Oregon. Virginia.org, Pamunkey Indian Museum, King William, VA. PEM.org/homepage, Peabody Essex Museum, Salem, Ma. Peabody.harvard.edu, Peabody Museum of Archaeology and Ethnology at Harvard University. PeoplesCenter.org, Pablo, Montana. PoHmuseum.com, Po Museum, Santa Fe, NM. Phoenix.gov/parks/pueblo.html, Pueblo Grande Museum and Archaeological Park, Phoenix, AZ. redearth.org/red-earth-museum, Red Earth Museum, Oklahoma City. wmat.us/wmaculture.shtml, Wheelwright Museum of the American Indian, Santa Fe, New Mexico. Religion Spiritual Museum websites. AngelMuseum.org, the Angel Museum, features over 6,000 of the Berg Angel Collection and the Black Angel Collection donated by Oprah Winfrey. Includes history of facility, photos, hours, and directions. Located in a former church in Beloit, Wisconsin. BibleWalk.us, Bible Walk, features life-sized dioramas of Old and New Testament stories, a collection of rare Bibles, wood carvings, and American votive folk art. Includes a visitor's guide, newsletters, maps, and directions to the location in Mansfield, Ohio, United States. BLMJ.org, Bible Lands Museum Jerusalem, exhibits biblical history through ancient Near Eastern art, from early civilization through the early Christian era. ChristusRex.org/www.1/Vaticano/0-musei.html, Vatican Museums. Christus Rex presents over 5,000 images of religious works of art preserved in churches, cathedrals, and monasteries all over the world. History.lds.org/section/museum, Church History Museum, previews of current exhibits, archive of previous exhibits, and information upcoming exhibits. Located in Salt Lake City, Utah. Menohoff.org, Menohoff Mennonite Anabaptist Interpretive Center, features multi-image presentations and historical exhibits of Mennonite and Amish life and culture. Located in Shipshewana, Indiana. slu.edu/Makaré, Museum of Contemporary Religious Art, includes information about the museum, featured and past presentations, hours operation, and contact information. thesam.org, the Sam Aziz Museum of Woodbine Heritage. The museum celebrates the history of the wave of immigration at the end of the 19th century that brought Russian Jewish settlers to the area as Woodbine. Includes hours, photo galleries, events, exhibits, and location. Women Museums. lcweb.loc.gov/exhibits/WCF, Library of Congress, Women Come to the Front, Journalists, Photographers, and Broadcasters During World War II. mum.org, Museum of Menstruation and Women's Health. nmwa.org, the National Museum of Women in the Arts. nmwh.org, National Museum of Women's History. greatwomen.org, National Women's Hall of Fame. nwhp.org, National Women's History Project. The National Women's History Project, founded in 1980, is a non-profit educational organization committed to recognizing and celebrating the diverse and significant historical accomplishments of women. nps.gov/nr/travel/pwwmh, nps.gov, Places where women made history. SusanBAnthonyHouse.org, National Susan B. Anthony Museum and House, Rochester, New York. Chapter 2. Culture Museums by U.S. State at aam-us.org/about-museum/find-a-museum. Culture Museums by State. Alaska. Morris Thompson Cultural and Visitors Center. Fairbanks, AK. Alutiiq Museum and Archaeological Repository. Kodiak, AK. Alabama. Porch Creek Indian Heritage Center. Atmore, AL. Arkansas. Museum of Native American History. Bentonville, AR. Arizona. Huagamkee Museum. Scottsdale, AZ. Tohono O'odham Nation Cultural Center and Museum. Sells, AZ. California. Table Mountain Rancheria. Friant, CA. LA Plaza de Cultura y Arts. Los Angeles, CA. Skirball Cultural Center. California African American Museum. Agua Caliente Cultural Museum. Palm Springs, CA. Contemporary Jewish Museum. San Francisco, CA. Santa Ynez Chumash Museum and Cultural Center. Santa Ynez, CA. Lalm Gallery/Exhibits and Collections Center. Shingle Springs, CA. Colorado. Mizell Museum. Denver, CO. Connecticut. Ukrainian Museum and Library Stamford. Stamford, CT. Tantaquidgeon Museum. Uncasville, CT. The Institute for American Indian Studies Museum and Research Center. Washington, CT. District of Columbia. National Deaf Life Museum. Washington, D.C. National Museum of the American Indian. Smithsonian National Museum of the American Latino. Florida. Ottauquechee Museum Seminole Tribe of Florida. Clewiston, FL. American Museum of the Cuban Diaspora. Miami, FL. African American Cultural Society and Museum. Palm Coast, FL. Iowa. National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library. Cedar Rapids, IA. Vesterheim Norwegian American Museum. Decorah, IA. Museum of Danish America. Elkhorn, IA. Idaho. Nez Perce National Historical Park. Lapwai, ID. Illinois. Swedish American Museum Association of Chicago. Chicago, IL. Ukrainian National Museum of Chicago. Balzikas Museum of Lithuanian Culture. Louisiana. New Orleans African American Museum. New Orleans, LA. Museum of the Southern Jewish Experience. Maryland. Reginald F. Lewis Museum of Maryland African American History and Culture. Baltimore, M.D. David C. Driscoll Center. College Park, M.D. Maine. First Amendment Museum. Augusta, ME. Michigan. Arab American National Museum. Dearborn, MI. Minnesota. American Swedish Institute. Minneapolis, MN. Hukata TISMSC Cultural Center and Museum. Shakopee, MN. Missouri. St. Joseph Black Archives Museum. St. Joseph, MO. North Carolina. Harvey B. Gantt Center for African American Arts and Culture. Charlotte, NC. Kannapolis African American Museum and Cultural Center, KAMAC. Kannapolis, NC. New Jersey. The Ukrainian History and Education Center. Somerset, New Jersey. New Mexico. The Sikh Dharma Museum Collection. Santa Cruz, NM. Wheelwright Museum of the American Indian. Santa Fe, NM. Ashiwi-Awan Museum and Heritage Center. Zuni, NM. Nevada. Stewart Indian School Cultural Center. Carson City, NV. New York. Iroquois Indian Museum. House Cave, New York. Studio Museum in Harlem. New York, New York. Bernard Museum of Judaica. Ukrainian Museum. Ohio. Maltz Museum of Jewish Heritage. Beechwood, O. The Temple Museum of Jewish Art, Religion and Culture. Cleveland, O. Indian Museum of Lake County. Willoughby, O. Oklahoma. Delaware Nation Tribal Museum and Library. Anadarko, OK. Loretta J. Jackson African American History Museum. Chickasha, OK. Comanche National Museum and Cultural Center. Lawton, OK. First Americans Museum. Oklahoma City, OK. Oregon. Tamist Slicht Cultural Institute. Pendleton, OR. Oregon Jewish Museum and Center for Holocaust Education. Portland, OR. Rhode Island. Tomaquag Indian Memorial Museum. Exeter, RI. South Carolina. International African American Museum. Charleston, SC. Clemson Area African American Museum. Clemson, SC. Seneca City Museum. Seneca, SC. South Dakota. Acta Lakota Museum St. Joseph's Indian School. Chamberlain, SD. Indian Museum of North America and Crazy Horse Memorial Foundation. Crazy Horse, SD. Tennessee. Bell's Museum of Asian and Judaic Art. Memphis, TN. Virginia. Alexandria Black History Museum. Alexandria, VA. Beth Ahaba Museum and Archives. Richmond, VA. Washington. Liluska Foundation and Cultural Center. Ariel, WA. Muckleshoot Indian Tribe Preservation Program. Auburn, WA. Northwest African American Museum. Seattle, WA. Puyallup Tribal Museum. Tacoma, WA. Wisconsin. George W. Brown, Jr. Ojibwe Museum and Cultural Center. Lac du Flambeau, WI. Jewish Museum Milwaukee. Milwaukee, WI. America's Black Holocaust Museum. Oneida Nation Museum. Oneida, WI. Wyoming. Chinese Joss House Museum. Evanston, WY. Culture Museum websites. MauriceDompsonCenter.org. AludiIQMuseum.org. PoArchCreekIndians.org. MonaAge.us. srpmic-nsn.gov/history_culture/museum.asp. himdagkey.org. lapca.org. skirball.org. caamuseum.org, accmuseum.org, thecjm.org, chumash.gov/museum, myselmuseum.org, ukrainianmuseumlibrary.org, mohegan.nsn.us/explore/heritage/important-sites/tontaquit-gion-museum, iacemuseum.org, gallaudet.edu/museum.html, nmi.si.edu, latino.si.edu, ahtahthickey.com, thecuban.org, aacsbombcoast.org, ncsml.org, vesterheim.org, danishmuseum.org, nps.gov/nepi, swedishamericanmuseum.org, ukrainiannationalmuseum.org, balzikasmuseum.org, noaam.org, msje.org, louisiamacum.org, driscollcenter.umd.edu/index.php, firstamendmentmuseum.org, arabamericanmuseum.org, asimen.org, hakokatati.org, stjosephmuseum.org/museum/black-archives, gantcenter.org, kaa-macc.org, ukrhec.org, wheelwright.org, ashiwi-museum.org, stewartindianschool.com, iroquoismuseum.org, studiomuseum.org, emmanuelenique.org/museum, ukrainianmuseum.org, maltzmuseum.org, ttti.org, indianmuseumoflakecounty.org, delawarenatation-nsn.gov, lijaz.org, comanchemuseum.com, efamuk.org, tamastslikt.org, ojmche.org, tomaquagmuseum.com, iaamuseum.org, caam.org, senecasitymuseums.org, akta-lakota.org, krazahorsememorial.org, bellsmuseum.org, alexblackhistory.org, bethahaba.org/bama, lelooska.org, muckleshoot.nsn.us, naamnw.org, ldfmuseum.com, jewishmuseummilwaukee.org, abhmuseum.org, oneida-nsn.gov/culture, wyomingtourism.org/things-to-do/details/chinese-joss-house-museum/2244